Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. It's Cynicalex, and today we're going to talk about math. Now, I know it might not sound like the most exciting thing, and personally, my math is kind of suspect at times, but this is actually really important for not only Tier 3 characters in Marvel Future Fight, but also for character balancing and for future uniforms of Tier 3 characters. So you're going to want to pay attention to this if you have any Tier 3 characters or you're going to invest into any Tier 3 characters. And it sort of piggybacks off of yesterday's video where I was just so blasted away and so blown away, not blasted away, whatever, blasted away by how quickly Ghost Rider charges up his Tier 3 skill. So this is only for Tier 3 characters because Tier 3 characters charge up their Tier 3 skill by using their other skills 1 through 5, whereas Awakening characters just have their Awakening skill available by default. And then it goes on cooldown every 30 seconds, so it's locked to a 30-second cooldown. And then, of course, non-Tier 3, non-Awakened characters don't have a 5th skill. But as you can see here, you press 4 skills, and boom, the chains are ready. How does that happen? What is going on there? So I was really blown away by this, and I didn't really have an explanation for it at the time, mostly because until now, I never really looked into the charge up rate for skills. I sort of thought that there was just a predetermined amount for each skill that was the same for all Tier 3 characters. Now, I reached this conclusion maybe a year or year and a half ago. There weren't that many Tier 3s in the game compared to how many we have now. We have like over 25. So I just had a much smaller sample size with which to compare them, and I couldn't really tell through limited testing and just not paying close enough attention to it. I couldn't really tell what was going on. But then yesterday, so this is crazy that we're learning new stuff about the game 2 years after, 2.5 years almost, after this content is released, right? Tier 3s was released in 2018 with the Infinity War update, Captain America, and then Iron Man and Spider-Man. So we get this comment yesterday on the video. Big shout out to Leprad Chan, right here with the Quicksilver icon, probably one of the only players rocking the Quicksilver icon. And he says, or they say, the Tier 3 charge up varies with the uniform you equip. Star-Lord Grounded has the same charge rate as Ghost Rider King of Hell. Older uniforms have slower charge rates. Classic example is Secret Wars Captain America. In ABX, the Tier 3 takes so long to charge. And then he said they say they did the calculation. It depends on the cooldown of the skill coupled with a multiplier. So then they come up with this multiplier, right? And the multiplier basically says whatever the base cooldown is, whatever the base cooldown is of the skill will be multiplied by this number, and then that will equal the amount of charge you get. So the easiest one to understand is the 4th skill. The Leprad is saying that there's a 1 times multiplier on the 4th skill. So what that means is you look at the 4th skill of a Tier 3 character, and whatever that is, the base cooldown your skill cooldown doesn't matter, doesn't factor into this calculation, okay? So the 4th skill has 16-second cooldown on Hell Cycle Rush. That means with a 1 times multiplier, when I press the 4th skill, it will give him 16% charge towards the 100% for Hell Awakens. And then the 1.25 times multiplier, I'll put the numbers here. The 1.25 times multiplier for the 5th skill would mean that this 20 gets multiplied by 1.25 and it gives 25%. So 25 and 16 means that if you press both of these in rapid succession, you're getting what? 41%, almost 50%. So let's check it out. We're going to do it at 4% and we should go immediately to 50. Here we go. At 4%, we're going to do that and then that. Okay, we went to 45. Did I do the math wrong? Oh, 40. Okay. Yes, 40. Sorry, 25 and 16 is 41. Okay, sorry, my bad. Okay, we already made a mistake. It's okay. So anyways, you'll be able to see what I'm saying. So I press, so 22 goes to 27, which is 25%. And then at 30, we're going to press 4, and it's going to go to 46. So we're getting the full 25 and the full 16 from Ghost Rider. And so then the 3rd skill gets multiplied by 0.75. So we're going to do it at 51, and that goes to 73.5. So we do 30 seconds, sorry, times 0.75, and you get 22.5, right? So 22.5, there you go. It works out. So in Ghost Rider's case, in Ghost Rider King of Hell's case, he has the typical multiplier that Leprad Chan is talking about. 1.25 here, 1 times here, 0.75 here, 0.5 here, and 0.25. This still sort of follows the theory that we always knew about tier 3 skills. They charge up much faster when you do 5 and 4 and to a lesser extent 3, and they charge up much more slowly when you do 1 and 2. We always knew that, but we just didn't know exactly why, right? However, it's not just that simple that, okay, he's got a long cooldown on 3, so he's getting a lot more points, right? Usually characters have about 15 seconds on their third skill for the cooldown, right? So if you go look at other tier 3s, their third skill is about 14 seconds, 15 seconds, things like that, right? You can see it's pretty average, right? So they're only getting half as much, sure, but that's not the full story. So Leprad Chan, huge shout out to you for discovering this and bringing this to people's attention, bringing this to my attention. I feel dumb that I never realized this. But upon further inspection, it's even more complicated than this, and I feel as though the devs have purposely done this for a reason. Now, what that reason is, I don't know. It could be to balance characters, so there could be very minute, very specific character balancing going on. It could be to set the character up so that in the future they have better their uniforms perform better, so you can see a slight tweak and upgrade in the uniform without them actually doing anything to the uniform specifically, just because the tier 3 charges a little faster. And so what I'll use as an example is Professor X. And I actually test this on stream with a lot of characters. There doesn't seem to be any specific rhyme or reason to this. Even across uniforms, certain characters will always have a different multiplier. So here's how it goes. So you see the multiplier still there, right? So judging by Professor X's skills, you take a look here, Mind Over Matter has a 20-second cooldown, just like Ghost Rider's. So he should get 25%, just like Ghost Rider. And then Phantom Flash is 18, so he should get 18%. Okay, so let's take a look. He should get 25 and then 18. So we're going to wait until the 6 skill is at 5%, and then we're going to do 5, and we should jump to 30%. All right, here we go. So we only jumped to 25%. What does that mean? That means he's not getting a 1.25 multiplier. He's getting a 1 times multiplier. Okay, it's 18 seconds on his 4th skill. He only gets 15 seconds. Did you see that? He doesn't even get 18 seconds on 4. Thank you, but no thank you. So this is really crazy. Not only did they reduce the multiplier on Professor X's 5th skill from 1.25 to 1, but then they reduced the multiplier on his 4th skill from 1 to 0.75. They reduced multiple skills. What that ends up doing is, well, you all know if you have Professor X, I always call him Dr. X. You know, right? You know what that means if you have a Professor X tier 3. It takes a really long time to charge up his tier 3 skill. That's a full rotation. This is another full rotation. It takes almost 2 full rotations of all of his skills to charge his tier 3. And with the long cooldowns, it means that you go through 2 full rotations basically before you can do the tier 3, and sometimes you have to end up using Mind Over Matter twice when you don't want to, and you sort of waste the last 20%. But if it was 25%, you wouldn't have to use it more than once. So this actually has pretty large implications for the amount of damage that you could do. Professor X is a very, very strong character. Imagine if, and a lot of you players, a lot of the really hardcore players will know what I'm talking about. Basically, when you do the full rotation with Professor X, okay, you start with the accumulation, then you do 4, 1, 2, 5. Okay, you're waiting for the cooldown. You do 1, 2, 4, 3. You get to here. He's at 91%. You have a choice at this point at 91%. You can either wait like 5 or 6 seconds to do 1 and 2, or you can just press 5 and then 6. But what that does is, by pressing 5 and then 6, you lose 10% because you're already at 90. So pressing 5 means you lose that 10% because you're only going up to 100 and it doesn't carry over to the next charge. So you lose 10% there, and then you have to cancel 5 into 6 rather than canceling 6 into 5. So there's actually a large implication, especially not just over one rotation, but over an entire fight. If instead of doing that, once you do 5, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, you could do 6. If 6 was ready after those skills, and then you could do 5 later, that would have a huge implication. So take this video and take this as evidence of sort of my hypothesis. Professor X is going to come out with a uniform sometime in the future, and it's going to change his multiplier from, you know, from 1 times here and 0.75 here, and they're going to change it back to this other multiplier, right? This 0.7, this 1 times multiplier here, and 1.25 multiplier on the 5th skill, and that's going to make him do way more damage. And so the devs won't even have to tweak his skills that much, right? Maybe they do it as a way to sell uniforms. Maybe they do it as a way to change the play style of a character without actually going in and changing a lot of the skills in a large way, right? But this is a really interesting piece of character balancing that I didn't even know was going on, right? We always make fun of the devs for not playing their own game. Turns out they seem to play it a lot more than we think and a lot more than we give them credit for. So it's pretty strange. However, let me continue with a few more examples here. So I'm going to show you Jean Grey, because Leprad says that older uniforms or base looks for characters have this penalty, but it's not necessarily the case. For some characters, they just have this penalty through and through. So again, it could be a way of character balancing. So let's take Jean Grey, notoriously one of the most unbalanced characters ever, possibly the most unbalanced character ever. So you take a look here, 15. If it's 1.25, she's going to get like 18.75, I believe. Let me just double check the math one more time. Yeah, 18.75 there, kind of a wonky number. And then here it's 12, so she should get 12%. So if you press both of those skills, you should be at around 31% or 32%. So let's take a look here. There and there. So she's only at 28 or 29. So what that means is she's not getting the full amount. She's getting 1 times multiplier here, and she's getting a 1 times multiplier here, because when we pressed both skills, we got 15 and 12, which is 27. We waited a couple seconds, so it builds up naturally, and it was at 29. So they've changed her, right? They've lowered her charge up rate. But now let's see her newer uniform. Were they trying to sell this uniform in the same update that they introduced Professor X? Let's take a look. We have 15 seconds again and 12 seconds again. So they didn't change her cooldowns, right? They never messed with her cooldowns. Okay, so 15. Let's see. We're going to wait to 2 seconds, 17, and then 29. Okay, it's exactly the same. But wait, hang on. There's something else going on here. 32, 44. Okay, no, there isn't. Anywho, so yeah, she only has a 1 times multiplier on both. So there is at least 3 different ways of calculating these skills. There is the Leprad one, which is 1.25, 1.75, right? There's the one for Jean Grey and a couple of other characters where it's 1, 1. So they reduce the 5th skill, but they keep the 4th skill the same. And then there's at least one more for Professor X, at least, where he goes 1 less than 1. He goes 1.75 on the 4th skill, right? So this is quite interesting. Now, to be honest with you, I haven't had the time to go in and test every single character, every single tier 3 character with all of their uniforms to see how this maps out. If someone out there wants to do that and send me the information, I would love that, and it would save me a lot of time, and I could post that somewhere, or I could make a follow-up video. I'm not asking you to do that, by the way. I'm just saying if anyone really enjoys what we're talking about and is really interested by it and wants to test it out, because you can test it out without owning the characters, right? You can take the characters into skill preview with and without their uniforms and just note down their base cooldown and then see whatever the multiplier is. But this has pretty interesting developments for characters. Now, there is a little bit more to this that I'm not discussing because it's a bit more like of an idea. But essentially, you take a character like Wolverine and you see how 2 skills have changed for him to make his tier 3 charge up a lot faster and a lot more consistent. But it has a little bit more to do with just the multiplier. So for example, I'm not saying Wolverine's like an amazing character or anything, okay? But you take his 5th skill, Eviscerate. It's an 18-second cooldown. So he should get 1.25 multiplier, which means that he should get 22.5%. His old uniform, okay, it was 13 seconds. So that's much less. So instead of 22.5%, he's only supposed to get 16. So he's losing 6% charge on every 5th skill. But there's more to it than that, because not only is he losing 6% here, so we should get 16 So if we wait till 4, we should go to 20 and change, okay? So here we go. So he does get the right amount. So not only, right, not only is he getting less of a charge, but if you notice the skill, the animation is much shorter. So here you're getting a much longer animation, a much longer iframe animation, but I mean the iframe is important. You're getting a much longer animation, which means that the cooldown for the skill will reset faster by the time you're done the skill, and then you're getting more of a charge up. When you combine those two things at the same time, you get a character that feels completely different to play. If you go to old Wolverine uniforms, it takes forever to charge his tier 3 skill, forever. But with this uniform, it's a lot faster because one, you're getting more out of each 5th skill, charging towards your tier 3. You're getting 6% every time more, which, like I said, it's around that percentage for Professor X, 5% more, right? But on top of that, because you're staying in the iframe longer when you use his 5th skill, it'll be ready again sooner, right? So then you feel like he's spending less time to charge up his tier 3. So he is spending less time, but also because of the way the skills are designed, you feel like you're spending less time, right? If you press the skills and there's a really fast animation, there's no iframe, you have to spend the rest of the time running around and kiting, and then you just see the percentage slowly tick up. But with this, you see that big jump in the tier 3 charge. He's doing the animation, he's still doing the animation, right? And that whole time you're charging up with the 0.5 every second, and he's still doing the animation because I don't know what this is. The animation on Eviscerate is so long, and then a couple seconds later you squeeze in 4 3 2 really quickly, and then 5's ready again, and then you get another 20% jump. So it's very interesting how they've seemingly added in extra layers of character balancing to tier 3s via the skill cooldowns of 1 to 5. So basically what this means is you may have an explanation for why you prefer to play certain tier 3s over others that may not be about typing or balancing or whatever, hero villain. And also it means that we can take a closer look at future tier 3s, especially once we get our hands on the APK. We can take a closer look at future tier 3s and try to figure out why certain design choices were made, and that might indicate the power level of certain characters. Like if they have a lower charge rate, that might indicate that they are really, really strong before we've even decoded or figured out exactly what makes them so strong. So yeah, huge shout out to LePradchan one more time for bringing this issue to the light. I mean, 56 likes, should be way more than that. Actually, I should just pin this comment. And yeah, hit me up in the comments down below. Let me know what you think of all this math. Thanks so much for watching. I did math early in the morning, mama. Are you proud of me? And I'll see you in the next one. Take care.